Donald Trump. He was front and center at last night's Republican debate because he had the highest poll numbers. But some critics are panning his performance.
So what does Donald have to say about that? Donald Trump joins us on the phone right now. Good morning to you, sir.
You know, I hadn't heard that because I won the Time magazine poll. I think I had 55%.
And Drudge.
And I won Drudge, with a huge number.
Right.
And so I hadn't heard that. So.
And you know what? The New York Times has got an item that says Donald Trump steals the show mixing politics and pizzazz.
Yeah, New York Times had me. You know what the truth is? I did badly with Krauthammer because he hates me. And this guy, this slob that you have on your show, what's his name? He does the focus groups. He always picks a focus group that doesn't like Trump.
No, listen, he's not a slob. He's a good guy. Frank Luntz interviewed you.
Yeah, but I don't like him.
But you also didn't seem to like Rand Paul last night, and it seemed as though he didn't like you too much. You know, when you guys went head to head, and we're going to play the sound, I'm going to ask you how you thought this actually happened post-debate. Here it is.
What I'd like to see is a private system without the artificial lines around every state.
Newsflash, the Republican Party's been fighting against a single-payer system for a decade. So I think you're on the wrong side of this if you're still arguing for a single-payer system.
I don't think you heard me. You're having a hard time tonight.
Hilarious.
He was having a hard time, I will say.
What's your impression of him?
Well, you know, I've given a lot of money to him for his, he does work on eyes. He's a doctor, and he does work on kids' eyes, and I think it's a great thing. I think he's actually a better doctor than he is a senator, you want to know the truth. But he was the one person. I actually got to know a lot of the people last night, and they were terrific. You have a terrific guy coming up, Marco. I got to know him, and his wife is fantastic, and his family.
Did he surprise you?
Well, I didn't know him. I've actually contributed to him in the past, but I didn't really know him. And I met him for the first time, and I liked him. Yes, sure. Marco Rubio.
Of the other people there on the stage, the 9 other people, you have had some harsh words for some of them. Who is the one who, when you came up to him and they shook your hand, did you think, this is different than I thought it was going to be?
Well, it's an interesting question. I really, I know so many of them, right? But the governor of Ohio, Kasich, good guy. But I was hitting Bush pretty hard. And I met him and got to know him a little bit last night. He's a terrific guy, Jeb. And I really thought he was a nice guy, Jeb Bush.
Who from the 5 o'clock debate would you have brought up to the stage last night with you, and who from your stage would you have bumped down or off the stage completely?
Well, I would have probably bumped Rand Paul because he was the only one that came at me last night, and I was expecting more than that, frankly, but I would have bumped him, and I would have brought up Carly. I think Carly was very effective. I think she was a very effective debater.
Well, leading up to this debate, Donald, I'm listening to all your interviews, and you say, I don't really know how to prepare. I've never been in something like this. I'm not a professional politician. It seemed to me you felt quite comfortable. Tell me how you really felt.
Well, I did feel comfortable. Initially I was going in, and then she hit me with that really tough question. And, of course, Brett, with the hand-raising and having to do with wanting me to give up my leverage, because that question was absolutely, or that statement was it was just aimed at me, which I didn't think was appropriate, but that's okay. Again, and then she hit me with a very, very hard question. That was when I came up with the Rosie O'Donnell statement, which really got a tremendous applause. I mean, that was the biggest applause of the evening, actually, so it was sort of interesting.
But why is that unfair, Donald? If Brett is asking, raise your hand if you would not commit to supporting someone for the nominee on this stage. What's the problem with supporting the person who the people actually choose?
Yeah, I don't want to use the word unfair, but I thought it was a little bit tough. Number one, I'm the only one in that category, so, it was obviously aimed at me. And I think I handled it well. And, look, if you look at Drudge, if you look at Time Magazine, if you look at the New York Times, I guess I must have handled it well because they all said I was easily the winner.
So
but it was a little bit of a surprise to be standing up there having to justify everything, as you haven't even, your shoes haven't even become warm and you're having to justify everything.
So, Mr. Trump, just to clarify something you said a moment ago with, that pledge at the beginning, are you saying you wouldn't agree to it because you don't want to give up your leverage?
Well, there's a leverage that you have, and also, and by the way, just so you understand, I don't want to do that. I want to win. You know, I'm substantially leading in all of the polls. I mean, every single poll. And new ones just came in. Georgia just came in, where I'm in the mid-30s, and South Carolina, and even in Iowa. I'm leading in Iowa. I'm leading in New Hampshire. So I'm leading in all these polls, and substantially leading, and that's what I want to do. I want to run as a Republican because that gives the best chance to win. But if I'm treated with respect, as the party should do, and if I like the person that is going to win, if it's not going to be me, I would not run as an independent. But I still don't want to give up the leverage, but I would give it up in that case.
The big story yesterday was the truth or the true or false story that Bill Clinton, you and Bill Clinton talked before you decided to run, and maybe that was the reason you decided to run. What's the truth there?
No, the truth is we talked after, actually long after I decided to run. And I think, you know, maybe he was feeling out. We didn't even talk about that, and we're not particularly friends or anything. And I tell you what, he's not happy that I'm running because nobody has hit Hillary harder than I have. I'm saying that what she's done is a criminal offense. You just have to ask General Petraeus. I mean, they destroyed his life over far less than what she did. So, you know, I mean, but I had my mind made up a long time before I spoke to him, and we spoke, and it was just a nice call. It was it was really a nothing call, but nobody is going to influence me. And honestly, I'm her worst. I will be her worst nightmare, and have been. I don't think, and you people know better, I don't think anybody has been tougher on her than I have.
You have been tough on her, no doubt. Exit question real quick. So what kind of a grade would you give yourself from last night?
Well, if I go by Drudge, which is a great group of people, or if I go by Time Magazine, I have to give myself an A. Or if I go by the New York Times, the front page of the New York Times, I have to give myself an A.
How did I know that?
You know, no, I was happy with the performance. I didn't know if I'd do well. I could, you know what? If I didn't, I'd say I got a D, I got an F. But I think I have to because I've won all the polls.
Right. And you did get the most airtime by about 2 minutes, over 10 minutes. Donald Trump, thanks so much. We miss you on Mondays, but
we miss you too.
Yeah,
Thanks for your
it's
time
great to
today.
see you.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Bye.
All right, straight ahead. So what is Marco